This is a step-by-step tutorial on how to make an infinity cube. For this project, you will need paper, pencil or pen, scissors, glue, markers or colored pencils, ruler or straight edge, and tape. The first step is to make the smaller boxes that are used to make the final infinity cube. There are many different ways to create cubes, and this is just one way. For this way, you will need a sheet of paper, a ruler or a straight edge, and a pencil or pen. If you would like, you can use colored paper or just plain white paper. On each sheet of paper, you will outline squares that have the same length you would like to have on your final cube. Here my boxes are around 2 inches in length, which means my final cube will have a height, width, and length of 2 inches. You can make your boxes as big and small as you would like. When drawing your squares, keep in mind that each individual box and cube will require 6 squares to make it. So for the entire project, you will need to draw out 48 squares in total. However, if you don't want to draw out the squares, I've created a template that I will link down below for you to use. All you need to do is print out 4 sheets of the cube template. Here is the cube template example. The next step is to just cut out all the squares that you have either drawn out or printed out. Make sure you have 48 in total. You will need a pair of scissors for this step. When you have cut out all of your squares, separate them into groups of 6. You should have 8 groups if you have made and cut out all 48 squares in one shot. Focus on one group at a time. You will need a ruler and a pencil. If you use the template, there is a faint line that cuts the square in half twice. You can use that line as a reference. However, if you didn't use the template, all you have to do is draw out 2 lines that cut the square in half twice to form a plus sign. You can also just fold them in half horizontally and vertically to form visible indents and creases in the paper. Using these creases or lines, line up the side of the paper with the center and create a fold. Repeat with the opposite side. Keeping those 2 sides folded down, go on to fold the other 2 opposite sides into the center of the square as well, but make sure you keep the flaps of the last 2 folds up instead of pushing them down. Do this with all 6 sheets of paper. Now that you have 6 folded squares, we will begin to assemble the smaller cube. You will not need any tape or glue for this process. You will only need the 6 sheets of paper. Now this part is a little difficult to explain, but feel free to pause the video to focus on each individual step in the process. Essentially, what you have to do is tuck the flaps of the paper into the cube, leaving a clean flat finish on the side. This step is not needed, but if you feel that the sides of the cube are coming apart or you just want to make sure that the cube stays together, all you have to do is tape the edges of the box shut. Taping the cubes together is the most important step. You want to make sure the tape is correctly placed, or else the cube will not function as intended. Any type of tape can be used to tape the cubes together. However, I will be using painter's tape so you can see where I'm placing the tape more clearly. First, you want to line up your cubes into 2 rows of 4. Then, connect the 2 boxes on the far left side and the 2 boxes on the far right side with a single piece of tape. Next, fold the boxes inwards as shown in the video. The next 4 pieces of tape will connect each set of 2 boxes that are directly next to each other. Then you will fold the boxes as shown in the video. Here you will tape the top 2 boxes and the bottom 2 boxes together. Next, perform the fold shown in the video to get to the next set of boxes that need taping. The next 4 pieces of tape will connect each set of 2 boxes that are directly above or below each other. Fold the boxes outwards as shown in the video. Here you will place your tape on the top 2 and bottom 2 boxes. This is the final fold you will have to make in the taping portion of the video. Your final 2 pieces of tape will be placed on the left 2 boxes and the right 2 boxes. You have now finished taping your infinity cube. You can test and see if your cube works as intended by folding it in different ways. If your cube does not work as intended and you feel like you messed up at any part in the taping process, please go back and watch any part you missed before moving on to the next step. In this next step, you will be outlining and drawing a picture for each individual side of the cube. You will need a pencil or pen, markers or colored pencils, your cube, and or a ruler or straight edge, but that's not necessary. You can either create a 4-box drawing or picture, or you can create an 8-box drawing or picture. For this step, I have also created another template that corresponds with the sizing of the cube template. However, you will only need one drawing template. My template includes outlines for 3 8-box drawings or pictures and 6 4-box drawings or pictures. If you didn't use the template, you can just outline or measure your boxes with a ruler on a blank sheet of paper and draw your drawing within these lines. Feel free to take inspiration from wherever you want. You can even use pictures from the internet or from photos you've taken. Here I have completed 6 boxes in my outline, 2 of which are long and 4 of which are small. I have left 3 boxes blank for photos that I have printed out on the internet, and I'm going to use to show you how you can use printed out photos or photos you have taken to glue them onto the infinity cube. Here are the pictures that I have printed out from the internet. All you have to do for these photos is trim them down to the size that corresponds to the outline size. You can either glue it onto the outline first or directly glue it onto the cube itself. Now that you've finished your outline, you will need a pair of scissors to cut out each individual drawing or picture. Now that you've cut out all your pictures or drawings, you want to glue them or tape them onto your assembled infinity cube. For the smaller drawings, what you can do is fold them in half twice, just like you did earlier in the video when you were making the smaller individual boxes. And cut along those indented and creased lines to create 4 equivalent squares. Now you have to glue the 4 squares onto the corresponding box on the assembled cube. When gluing the squares onto the cube, you want to make sure that the same picture forms on the cube as it was when it was just one individual square. Now you have to cut, tape, or glue your 8 box, your longer drawing or picture, onto the cube. For the longer picture or drawing, you will have to fold and cut the drawing in half once. This will create 2 bigger squares. With these 2 bigger squares, you will repeat the same steps you did for the smaller picture and create 4 individual smaller squares by folding and cutting in half until you get those 4 individual squares. In total, you should have 8 individual squares for each long picture. Now you have to glue the 8 squares to the corresponding box on the assembled cube. Make sure that the correct picture forms and all squares are placed correctly. You have now successfully finished making an infinity cube. You could play around with it in any way possible, or just leave it as decoration.